Started recording. And good morning. I'm Susie Rayford, and I would like to thank you all for participating in this interim meeting, as I mentioned earlier. And as Angel Malone, our director, recommended that we have this walkthrough today by Robert Davis, the Workforce Development Coordinator with the Department of Commerce. And he'll be giving us a walkthrough of the South Carolina Regional Workforce Snapshots. And I wanted to invite our director, Angel Malone, if you wanted to say a few words to the group, please.
So I am sitting in two different meetings, so I apologize. I wanted to hop in. That's the
Thank you.
wonderful. That's the wonderful resource with virtual meetings. But I just want to say that I'm excited about the tool and the resource that we're partnering and sharing with Commerce, and I'm glad that Robert Davis will be talking about what's happening in the workforce regions. I'm sitting in two meetings, one about how to align education even more with the workforce. So I'm excited about the work that Susie is doing in our office with the CLNA and how we can better align. And when we started this process and working with Robert, there were some questions that hopped out immediately. And this is what this is supposed to do, is to spark that conversation that leads to us doing things that will create solutions so that we can continue to narrow the gap as it relates to the booming workforce and industries within regions and how we prepare students to go into them. So thank you for joining today. I'm excited about this, and thank you, Susie, for hosting this. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I just realized I was muted. And I want to welcome Kathy Bradford from the Low Country region as the regional career specialist down there. She has joined the focus group since our initial meeting in February, and Matt Wiggins as well with the Upper Savannah region. I'm getting there. He is going to be sitting in as the focus group representative. And I think for Mr. Davis's benefit, if we could go around the Zoom, the Microsoft Teams room real quickly and just give your name and your region and your position so that he knows who is in the audience, please. Gina Marie?
I'm Gina Marie Thomas. I'm at Greenville Tech. I manage the Perkins Grant for Greenville Tech.
Cherie?
Good morning, I'm Cherie Presley. I am the Regional Workforce Advisor for the Upstate region. I have Spartanburg, Cherokee, and Union counties.
And Victoria?
Hi there, I'm Victoria Briac. I am part of the Catawba region, and I am the CTE Director for Fort Mill Schools.
And I see Matt. I know I introduced you, but go ahead.
Hey there. Good morning. I'm Matt Wiggins. I am the Regional Workforce Advisor for the Upper Savannah region, which is basically the Greenwood and the bordering counties, the Piedmont Tech footprint.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And Lisa?
Hey, Lisa Robbins. I'm with the Catawba region, Regional Workforce Advisor. And of course, Robert and I work together along with all the other regional workforce advisors.
And I believe that's Cheryl. Is that Cheryl with the PD region? No. Kathy?
Good morning. I'm Kathy Bradford. I'm Low Country Regional Career Specialist, and I serve Beaufort, Colleton, Hampton, and Jasper counties.
Thank you. And Gary, and then Eileen, please.
Hello, I'm Gary Anchetta from Florence Arlington Technical College. I'm here for Jennifer Mabry.
Thank you, Gary.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Eileen Patney. I'm a regional workforce advisor with the South Carolina Department of Commerce, and I have Georgetown, Horry, and Williamsburg County. And I'm thrilled Robert is joining us. I like to say that he comes up with the on-spot data that I need, and then I dig down to my theater minor and present it with flair. Hey, Robert, thanks for joining us.
My fellow I was a theater major, imagine. And do we have anyone else who would like to introduce themselves?
Yes. Can you all hear and see me? This is
Yes.
Doretha Glimp. Okay. Just want to make sure because I can't see myself. Okay, this is Doretha Glimp. I am the Perkins Administrator at Midlands Technical College, and I am on the Midlands team.
Thank you, Doretha.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? I see an LR initials down there.
I think that's Lisa.
That's probably Lisa. Yes, because her video is off now. Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, Robert, so much for your patience. And we would love to have you take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Robert Davis. I'm with the South Carolina Department of Commerce. I do a lot of different things, working with the regional workforce advisors, working with and for our boss, Elizabeth Kovacs. I'll jump right into the regional workforce snapshots. I'm going to try to do the content share and pray this works. This. Please let me know. Can everyone see?
We can see it. Thank you.
So the regional workforce snapshots were created about a calendar year ago. It was a culmination of extensive work by all the different workforce partners within the state. I just happen to be the one who organizes it and coordinates it, but by no means does the Department of Commerce or myself own this. This has been an extensive amount of work and very informative on my part by Angel Malone and her department, by CHE, Department of Employment and Workforce has lended some assistance. Basically, the goal of this was that there is an extensive amount of information available from different state agencies and partners across the state, but it's often hard to distill that down into one centralized location so that everyone knows that they're talking about the same information. Just to provide a bit of context, the Federal Bureau of Labor and Statistics provides information. The State Department of Employment and Workforce provides information on industries, on employment, and sometimes those numbers differ a bit. So just to be able to cite and localize all information was really an item that was needed within the state and something that I feel lucky that the partners were willing to work with me on and provide their information. So with the sheet in front of you, I'll do a quick rundown of what's in there and where that information came from. I'll go over a little bit more of the assistance that the partners provide. And then honestly, I'm just going to open it up to questions to whatever you may have. I don't feel like I should ramble on too much about this. So we have 12 regional workforce snapshots, each one built around the 12 workforce regions which exist within the state of South Carolina. Both the RWAs and the State Department of Education employees, Department of Employment and Workforce, they all work around these regions. So it felt like the right way to organize this. Functionally, you could organize it however you want, but this was the route we chose. So your first three items, total employment, unemployment, or excuse me, first two items, total employment and unemployment, are each provided by the Department of Employment and Workforce. They publicize every month, usually a month or two lag, the unemployment rate for each county. So for the regions, I combined them and centralized it to provide a regional unemployment rate and a total number employed. The U.S. Census Bureau provides a count of adults 18 to 64. We chose this number as it was the prime working age. 18 to 64 is generally considered when someone would be involved in the workforce. And then the following two numbers were provided by State Department of Education with the public high school enrollment, and then the fall post-secondary credit enrollment for that region. And I'll get into the terminology we use there because this was a learning process for me, understanding how education, both secondary and higher education, segments their populations. So we had to make sure to qualify those as best as possible. Top industries are the top industries as defined by the Federal Bureau of Labor and Statistics. So quarterly, they publish an accounting of about how many people are employed in, there's about 16 or 18 industries in total. We included the top 6, as that usually got you to 60 to 70% of the workforce. And like all things in life, once you're at about 60 to 70%, it is good to know further down, but you usually have a good grasp of where your core competencies are and where the focuses are within your region or county. Working down a little bit further, this is the publicly announced information provided by the South Carolina Department of Commerce. We do announcements, I don't want to say daily, but they come out as they come out. Usually you'll get a few each week. We coalesced around basically the last 4 to 5 years of announcements to provide context of not just what's in the region, but what will be coming to the region. After 4 to 5 years, most projects will have launched and been hiring individuals, so they would have moved or transitioned from an announced project to a functioning company, where they would most likely be captured a little further up in your top industries. Working down to educational attainment, these are adults 18 to 64, and the general population mix on educational attainment. This is captured by the American Community Survey, which is done by the U.S. Census. The asterisk in here includes certificate level credentials. Currently, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, not Bureau, the U.S. Census does not segment out if someone has a high school, does not have, has some college but no degree, or they attended a college and received some sort of certificate but did not achieve an associate's degree. So there's a large mix of population that I wish they would segment more. They've talked about doing that in the coming years, segmenting that a bit more so that we have a concept of who has attained some level of credential versus who enrolled in a higher education but did not obtain anything. Working down a little bit more, the back of the sheet is entirely education focused. First, we start with your public and independent universities for fall enrollment. This is provided by Commission on Higher Education. We captured all of the public and independent universities. We did not capture private because sometimes that information wasn't readily available, and we wanted to keep it consistent across the 12 regions. The degrees awarded is organized by zip code, the basic 2-digit zip code. What we found during this is that once again, usually once you hit the top 5 or 6, you are hitting a large amount of the degrees awarded by university, public or independent college or university. Much like with industries, even though they offer a lot of options, people in a region tend to focus around 2 to 3 different ones as the core degrees awarded. Next, we work down to the technical colleges. This is where within each region, the enrollment for both the credit side and what is called the corporate and community side of the technical colleges within a region. Corporate and community is better known as CE, depending on how long you've been within the ecosystem we are. With the program completions, these are limited to the credit side. The reason we limited it to the credit side was that the corporate and community education side of the technical colleges vary greatly by your region, and the top programs vary greatly by your region. So within some regions, you would have more of the credential side that you would, I don't want to say expect, but you would perceive as would be one of the top OSHA certificates, forklift certificates, items like that. Also, one of the top items in all regions was defensive driving. And that kind of gets into the multiple, the Swiss Army knife existence of the technical college is how they provide both a credit degree and a lot of community engagement and programs that they're looking for. For instance, I live in the Midlands, and they sent out their guide for what courses you could enroll in. And while I chuckled a bit, I understood this. They had an entire course on the community and corporate side that was about how to use or install and work a Roku or some sort of other streaming device. And while I found that a bit humorous in my age, I know my parents may have enjoyed that class. So I've kind of accepted, you know, sometimes you can't capture everything, but you do capture what you can. And then lastly, to wrap it up, the public high school CTE information in terms of enrollment, total number, and then high school CTE certifications awarded, this was provided by Angel and her group. They were very open and warm to sharing this information. They worked with me so I better understood the process, how their information was collected and organized and presented. And they really worked with me so that the information was presented in a way that they felt was faithful to what was being done and also honest about what is going on in each region. So I've rambled on for a bit there. I am going to go ahead and pause in case you guys have any questions. Stop sharing this so I can see.
I don't have a question, and I think this is great information.
And as Angel had mentioned, the idea was to centralize enough information that people could make decisions that they could support based on some sort of, I don't want to say fact, but information that they could all agree upon. Working within the information and data world, there's a lot of different resources out there that can give you a lot of different perceptions or a lot of different takes on the information. So our goal was to provide the information as directly and forthright as possible, and let each person kind of construe the conclusions that they want from that. It's something that we're updating quarterly. We're still going through constant revisions. We're calling it a living document because I'm working with the partners to find ways to maybe include a bit more information if it's desired by the partners, trying to better, as one person at CHE said, they're reminding me of a high school paper when they received the document that I had wide margins, trying to ensure that I wrote as little as possible sometimes. So we're looking at ways to reformat and change the product so that we could get a bit more information without overwhelming people. And lastly, I think it's been interesting working with people because when they see this, they always perceive it from their background. So an education person looks at this and goes, well, why are you updating it quarterly? We view information mostly within an annual perspective. You complete a school year, that's when you'd get the information that you're looking for. Within workforce development and economic development, we're far more monthly or quarterly. That's how often we expect information to come in so that we can provide information as up to date as possible to the prospects we're dealing with. So I go back to the different, there's a good biblical story I'm blanking on at the moment about serving multiple masters. So the idea is how can we serve as many people as possible while still remaining true to the product we're trying to produce. So I'll again open that up there if you have comments, questions, ideas. I've been open and honest about, hey, if someone's got a good idea, I'm going to include anything that I can.
I have a question, Robert.
Sure.
The CLNA focus group members, one of the expectations is and goals is for us to collect as many good resources as possible as the 12 regional teams go into their planning meetings, and they'll have these resources to go by to help them close the gaps that they found in the 2020 CLNA. And so we've developed, or with the help of all of the CLNA members and the Office of Career Technology Ed, I developed a CLNA Improvement Phase Toolkit, which is a document online, of course, you're familiar with those, with many, many resource links. And I took it upon myself with the March update of the toolkit to include the links to the most recent quarterly reports by region,
Mm-hmm.
quarterly snapshots by region.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like that is being the living and breathing type of document that it is. Is there a better link that would be more inclusive where someone could go to that link and get the most updated information, or should I leave it as is for now?
And correct me if I'm wrong here on the question you're asking about the different resources that you're providing. Is there a better way of centralizing?
I guess I'm asking, is there a better way or a better link for the snapshots?
Oh, no, not at the moment. We're trying to place them on the Department of Commerce website. I mean, we've all lived through COVID for this last year. So certain items that maybe we would have had as a secondary, we could focus on that and get it done. We've all put them on the back burner to focus on everything that's on fire at the moment,
Sure.
or at least that's how that feels. So what I've been doing is sending them out quarterly via email to the different partners, economic developers, things like that. As of right now, if you'd like to be put on that mailing list, all you would need to do is email me and I can add you to that. We do want to find a permanent home that can be used to store and update those. And then if someone wants to go back and compare past snapshots, and I'll divert slightly from your question there to say that's a personal goal of mine, is that we can produce enough of these consistently enough that an individual could track change over time. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do in most of our lives, is that we take a point in time, see where things sit, take a second point in time further on, and off of that compare, have things changed. Now, when you compare one point to another, you can get a few conclusions, but many times you're wondering, are those just happenstance? Did that happen randomly? Was there a good year versus a bad year? But when you take multiple points, 5, 7, 10, at that point you begin to find a trend. And once we find trends, we're then capable of making conclusions of like, oh, we do feel like this is moving in a direction that we are happy with or unhappy with. So to answer your question, just email me. I'll get you on that list. It's
Okay.
rdavis@scommerce.com, and I'm sure you can send out my contact information to anyone who would like it. And then whenever we do solidify this on the website, we'll send that out to the partners. And
Okay.
everyone.
So for the team, for the focus group members, if y'all have had a chance to look at the most updated version of the CLNA toolkit that I sent out last week or so, one of the top items under labor market resources is an individual link to each one of the 12 regions' last quarterly snapshot. And is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's perfectly
I'll
fine.
leave it the way it is for now then, I guess.
Yeah.
And then once you have a more general link, then we'll just update it at that time. I'll probably be updating the toolkit every month anyway, so they have the most recent information.
And to give you a bit of context, so Q1 2021 will be ending at the end of March. I usually try to have it out by the third week of April. So in this case, the third week of the following month. That's usually when Department of Employment and Workforce can provide the most recent unemployment numbers. I hold out to get those so that it's up to date as possible. So whenever that is done, that would be going out, and then you could just update that then.
Okay, great. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions?
Well, Susie, this is Angel. I have a comment. I'm going to make this one and hop off, but I wanted to say thank you, first of all, Robert, for sharing and explaining that information. But I also want to say, go back to the comment of the frequency of the reports, which keeps up with how things happen and change in business, is when you all are going back to look at your regional results, your local results, so far as the CLNA is concerned, and how those things need to change. I think one of the things that I'm hoping that this tool will do is allow us to look at the industry announcements or the job announcements, as well as what are those top areas, and then looking at our data. I think our data, Robert, is 2 years behind, I believe. maybe a year or two. I think it's 2.
It's 2 because of higher education's movement on reporting information. Yeah.
Right. But I think that that's a great enough gap where it charges us to go back and look and say, hey, have we made improvements from 2 years ago to now? And how do we make those improvements? So if manufacturing, I'll use that one because that's the top one we always use, right? Manufacturing is booming in my area, but on the secondary level, I may have 5% of my students completing manufacturing, and that was 2 years ago, and we haven't climbed any from that point. Now, how do I make that happen? How do I bring this message home to the schools that actually do the work? Right. So I think that that's helpful there. I just wanted to make that statement because I think this will be a great tool for us moving forward to align with workforce.
Thank you, Angel. And I think when I send the recording link out, that type of content in the email message would be helpful for all of the regional CLNA teams, just to point that out for them, because not all of them have representation yet. So,
Susie, can I make a comment or just thought? And I don't know the feasibility of this, but if there's a possibility to capture IGP selections, that may be another just interesting statistic to put on there in terms of being able to identify trends and kind of where students are putting their attention. So Angel, Robert, that's just a little food for thought. And I'd love to hear other people's comments or feedback if they feel like that would be useful as well.
This is Kathy. I think that would be very useful. In fact, when the data, how to collect the data on IGPs was sent out the other day, I sent an email to Sabrina to see if for my region, I could get a accumulated list of the IGP selections. So, Matt, I think that would be very helpful.
I agree. And I know Cherie does some deep dives on this in her region too.
We talked about that last month and made an ask for that. Did you have an opportunity, Kathy, to talk with Sabrina about providing that for our reports annually?
No, I just got, I just sent her an email and I have not heard back. I'm sure she's with Sherry's replacement, I guess not in there yet. I guess she's handling a lot of that, but I don't know. But so I have not heard back.
Well, I did want to say that we did talk about this, I think, Robert, prior to looking at IGP information.
Yes, ma'am, we did.
Okay, so I will connect with Sabrina to see, and I will say this, that when I think Susie, even we talked about this as well, one of the things that could be a workaround right now, I will see if we can get that report, but the regional partners, you have a partner from every district within your region, and I'm thinking that you all can pull that information per school as well, but I will see if we can get it. I'm not sure if we can get it on a regional basis. I think that they would be able to pull the district information, and I think you all could possibly get that from those district partners, but I will check with Sabrina.
That would be helpful.
Hey, thank you, Angel. That's going to be real helpful because some of us, I have 14 high schools, and just to be able to get to the right person to get the right data, it would be a lot more efficient and honestly easier if Sabrina has it, if she could just share that.
Okay. I'll get with her and follow up with Susie about that. She can share that out with you all. And yeah, Robert, if we can get it on that report, I'll make sure that you have that data.
Sure, thanks. That's something we can talk about in the upcoming months.
All right, y'all hop off. Y'all have a great time. Bye.
Thank you, Angel. And just so that y'all do know, I did check with the Office of Career Technology Ed on that information, and actually found out that it comes from a different department. And also it was recommended that you use your, as Angel mentioned, you use your district representatives, the CTE directors and so forth, to go to their data experts to be able to pull that information per district. So, but it may be per school and then, you know, gradual up to district and then region. So we'll wait and see what Angel comes up with talking to the other department. So I hope we can get that for you. It'd be a lot easier than pulling it from each school in each district.
Yes, it would, very much so.
I do have a question. It was recommended that we print some of these snapshots to distribute to our stakeholders. It changes quarterly, so is it wise to print and distribute to stakeholders? And if so, would you recommend like Q4, which would be kind of, is that what we would consider a year of captured information? Or what would your recommendation be?
I think printing them is perfectly fine. It depends on the type of information that is most relevant to what you're trying to use. So if you're trying to use the back, which is mostly the educational spectrum from high school to higher education, that's only going to be updated annually. You could print that now, and I don't think the next one would be updated until Q3 2021. So there'd be 6 months where that remains as good as it's going to get for what we have. The industry information, the unemployment information as you work your way back to the top in the front, that'll change a little bit more often. Minus COVID, your top industry shouldn't change that much over a quarter-to-quarter period. Maybe year-to-year you might see a little bit of change, but this year has been extraordinarily odd in terms of how quickly, say, your hotel hospitality type industry saw just massive drop in employment, where the Waccamaw region took an absolute hit, and then the upstate they saw some changes, but being more manufacturing focused, they saw less drastic changes in the makeup of their workforce. So printing them, you're probably good for 6+ months. Nothing drastic would happen unless you had a pandemic, and then hopefully we don't have another one of those for a while.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. And can you give us your email address one more time? I was slow to write.
Oh, sure. It's ours and Robert, and then Davis, Davis, and that is at scommerce.com. And Susie has my email as well, that she could send that out to the group.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else have any questions for Robert?
I put his email in the chat box too to make it easier.
Thank you very much, Eileen. I don't want to keep y'all any longer than you have to, since this was an interim meeting. So if nobody else has any questions, we want to thank you so much, Robert, for your information today and for your time. That was very helpful to me. I was impressed by those snapshots immediately when Angel and I discussed them, and that's why I hurried to get them into the toolkit as well, so that I think it's a real good way for each team, each region, to have some very current, up-to-date, condensed information to go by, because the planning process goes up through October 2021 for submitting 2022. Mm-hmm. And so we're lucky to have that information, and I really appreciate it. As soon as I hear back from Angel Malone related to the IGP data request that y'all had, I will send y'all an update, and I will send this recording out as soon as I can as well. Anything else? Well, thank you, everybody, for being with us this morning, and y'all have a great rest of the week.
Thanks, Susie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.